This is not a video that I really want to do, but one that I feel that I have to do. It actually terrifies me, considering that people enjoy things that I've made and maybe wonder why I haven't made one in a while. This will answer that, and hopefully it's not too jarring for you, because this is something that I deal with on a daily basis, something that I struggle with in my life that a lot of people don't know about, and that I'll attempt to sort of illustrate if I can, is I have what's called psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. That's essentially stress-induced seizures. I've basically had such a buildup of an overactive sort of fight or flight response in my life that it's not quite regulated and I can't seem to handle things very well. Fit in with that is another thing, which I'll get to. Essentially, the kind of seizures that I have, as the name states, are not epileptic. It's not epilepsy is a sort of a misfiring of electric impulses within the brain. Mine are very, very different, even though the seizures that I have look pretty much the same as a person that has epilepsy and what's known as a tonic-clonic or grand mal seizure. Those are the ones that wind up usually putting me in the hospital, although I have had reported absent seizures that I've been unaware of, but another person has been around me and has said that I've just checked out for 30 seconds or so. And the really scary part about all of this is that I spend a lot of my time alone. This terrifies me. Now, a lot of you may be wondering, how does one get this? Well, these kind of seizures are brought on by the body's inability to properly manifest trauma, physical manifestation of a psychological disturbance. We're not equipped to handle trauma past a certain threshold. The human, our integrity as human beings, we can't do it. So when somebody goes through something repeatedly, such as a traumatic incident or incidents in some unfortunate cases, it builds up over time and eventually will become an issue if not properly handled. Taking on too much stress, processing it properly, holding in emotions, ignoring emotions, becoming rather robotic. Talking about this, it stresses me out very, very badly. When I have seizures, because of being such a computer nerd, I refer to them as my blue screen of death. Not to imply that they're fatal, but essentially the same thing that happens with a computer whenever it's overloaded or too much happens. It shuts down to preserve itself. That's essentially what my body does, is that if I'm going and I am unable to really handle it, I shut down. So what the hell is happening? That's the other part. I've talked about this and I've stated it, and it's definitely in different profile, descriptions and what have you. I've been open about it. I've even told some people about incidents that's happened in my life, but I've never been fully public about it. And things are gonna make a lot of sense now once that I am. And that is that I have PTSD from being a survivor of multiple violent crimes. I typically say that there are 3, when in essence it's technically 4. Only 3 were actually reported, and a 4th was a relationship that lasted for 4 months. The first incident that I had, and the thing with PTSD is that you remember dates pretty well. For example, September 24th, 2007. That was when I learned how the legislative system worked and how it fails people. And that's pretty much when I started to break apart as a person. In 2013, I had a relationship with somebody that ironically had actual epilepsy. And because of that, they would come out of their seizures very violent, thus made for a physically abusive relationship, hence the short duration of it. The next thing that I'm going to talk about, and well, the rest of it, I really don't want to, but I feel like at this point, if people understood how much I try to do, how much I try to maintain a normal life, how much I try to keep myself going, and then understand these circumstances, maybe would help a little bit in understanding. Also, one of the things that is very important to me as someone that, for some reason, despite being shit on by a lot of people, and being blunt here, being shit on by a lot of people in a very short duration of time in the past 6 months, when I've extended, you know, my assistance out to others, because I don't want anyone to feel the loneliness that I have in my life. I don't want anyone to feel the pain that I have in my life. I don't want people to go through that. So I try to be the help that I've never gotten. And unfortunately, it bites me in the ass. Between 2013 and 2014, I was dealing with a diagnosis of polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is somewhat managed, as well as the chronic pain condition that I have, which is from TMJ. It's really, really hard to get treatment for the latter, especially addressing the issues with pain. And I've had a lot of doctors judge me. I had very excruciating pain and was desperate for it to stop, and didn't want to see a doctor, didn't want to go to a hospital, nothing. And there was someone that had offered to help. And he was an off-duty paramedic. I didn't think much of it. And based on previous things in my life where medical activity has happened outside of a hospital setting, I didn't think too terribly much of it. It's not something that bothers me too much, especially with having, I've done a lot of weird piercing things in the past, and you know, implants and stuff like that. I don't think much of it. And I let a off-duty paramedic give me something for pain. Little did I know that he gave me an anesthetic called Versed, or midazolam. I was given over 5 milligrams of this anesthetic, which should have knocked me out. It didn't, but it did paralyze me completely, leaving it so that only my eyes could move. So I had to watch him, and I couldn't fight back. He left, and within about 10 minutes I was able to grab my phone, which was fortunately within arm's reach of me. At that point, I could at least say words, and I called a friend of mine up. She kept me on the phone for about 45 minutes to make sure that I was still breathing. Within a few hours, I went to the emergency room and had a rape kit done. Due to the injustice that I experienced from 2007, I did not press charges. I reported it, but I did not press charges. These are when the seizures start happening, and this is when my anxiety starts to get quite bad. Now let's bring it back to present, sort of, and see, this will hopefully tie in some things and kind of address, you know, why I've made certain choices. 15th of 2018, I went on a group outing of people that I had met in a social server online. However, this outing was 2 hours away from me. I figured, why the hell not? You know, rocks throw. There was 2 different events that happened. I went to one of them. It was fine. People were dramatic, though. You know, I was over it. But the second time, it was kind of a spur of the moment sort of thing. And there was someone there that was kind of outside of the group of people that no one really knew aside from the coordinator herself. But I ended up talking with him a good bit because he was closer to my age. Most of the people there were quite a bit younger. The last night that I was there, which I shouldn't have been there that last night, I didn't have a ride to go home. So I had to find another bed to sleep in. And I shared a bed with this guy. Granted, this was somebody that I was friendly with, and I did make it explicitly clear that I was not looking for any sort of sexual interaction or, you know, sexual intercourse with anyone there. I wasn't interested in casual sex, anything of the sort, and that was not respected. I shared a bed with this guy and awoke to him having sex with me. I was wearing headphones, and I take medication for my seizures. Not an actual an epileptic medication, but it's for severe stress. And at that point, it was just like I've had so much happen in my life that has been jarring that I basically am in denial about it. And it's at this point that I've become very robotic and very distant. My interest in IT became a little bit stronger and less in people. I didn't really understand what happened until about a week later, and not wanting to feel the regret that I had 4 years prior, I decided to go ahead and press charges. I was harassed very heavily by the person who organized the event. She put the evidence from the case on the internet, claiming it was private, but that's not how that works because anyone could access the link. Fortunately, it was taken down. Regardless, I still went through the investigation process, and despite the fact that there were people that were there that knew that I was there with this person, they were unwilling to corroborate my story because of how much harassment others had received from this person, and basically threats of not saying anything. Due to that lack of evidence, and due to the awful detective work done by a detective in another county outside of mine, the case did not proceed further. Interestingly though, I did get this pointless fucking piece of paper, which I will briefly show to but obscure my name. That's eligibility for victims' compensation. So, while the state will acknowledge that you're the victim of a violent crime, they don't actually put away the assailant. It's a pretty fucked up process, and something that it breaks my heart to know that people actually go through. I used to work in the adult industry. Since that incident happened, I have no longer been able to. I have tried to find odd jobs, freelance work, basically anything, and due to the amount of stress and anxiety that I feel, I'm just happy to just be safe. That's all I care about, is to just be safe. And it's amazing how many people take that for granted, because I fear that I will be left with nothing, and I don't know that I deserved any of this. And this is not me making a fucking pity party. That's the last thing that I want. But I do want people to understand why it is that I am passionate about certain things, why it is that I want to help people, and that I somehow stupidly continue to do so while getting shit on. It's because deep down, I don't want people to feel the way that I do when they're completely ignored. It sucks. Because I don't have anyone. I don't. There's no one that is there for me. So I know how much it means when somebody does say, hey, let me help you out, or whatever, or, you know, here's something you can do, or let's get you started back on this, because all I want is to start being successful again. I want my fucking life back. And thank God I am arrogant as fuck, because I think that if I wasn't, I may not be here. So I'm proud to be cocky. I don't want to be defeated. I want to keep pushing on, despite having some really shitty fucking people say some things about me. And I'm going back. We're going back 6 months. When it's pretty clear what my intention has been. This is going to be really hard for me to put out there, but I feel that it's necessary. I haven't had a grand mal seizure, to my knowledge, in about 3 years. However, I have apparently absent style seizures. Again, these are not epileptic, but I don't. So my eventual goal is to finally get trauma therapy and to get back into working in IT, because there's no way that I can work in the adult industry the way that I used to. It's not an option. And I've tried to find other options, and despite loose agreements, there are people that have not taken into consideration that perhaps, you know, it might significantly put me in a very jeopardizing situation if things aren't understood. I'll probably have a better moment of clarity after this, because I really fucking hate talking about this. And I don't want to peddle. I don't want to put myself out there as any sort of case either. But I know that I am a very talented person that has an exceptional skill set, and I want to continue to be able to use that. I want to offer that to people. I want to be able to do something with it. So that's there. I just don't want to give up. And I don't want anyone else to ever feel that they have to either. Because somehow I got this far. Somehow I did something right.